Is there a saying that you have that gets some kind of a maxim or an adage or some kind of something that I have a friend who says, it's all good. Sometimes it's all good, it's just not all pleasant. Well, one of my personal sayings is, everything's a trade-off. Over the years, it's become clear, at least to me, that it's rare in life when you can truly have it all without having to give something up. Most of us make decisions all the time that require us to count the cost. Sometimes the cost is literally a financial one. Can I afford to buy that new house or new car? Can we afford to live on one income so one partner can stay home with the kids? Can I take a less stressful job and still be able to live comfortably? Many times we can rely on a financial planner or a bank to help us with the mathematical analysis of that question. For example, according to LendingTree, conventional lenders use a general guideline of a 28% mortgage to income ratio when assessing your borrowing qualifications. It's nice to know that we can count on somebody to help us make costly decisions. I think most of us worry and fear about being in over our head and eventually failing. Our scripture from Luke this morning addresses this fear. In chapter 14, he basically, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but he basically states that anyone who is going to build something must first estimate the cost of it and the cost of seeing it through to completion. For if that person doesn't do that and has to halt construction before the project is finished, people are going to ridicule that person. So, although it isn't necessarily for altruistic reasons, lending institutions like banks are helpful in assessing our ability to repay a loan, which in hope will spare us from ridicule or bankruptcy. But like so many things in life, cost counting, when looked at a little bit more broadly, goes much deeper than the financial surface. Since everything has a trade-off, we have to make decisions about what we want, and we have to think about what we might be willing to lose to get what we want. In some respects, I guess, counting the cost is kind of a deterrent from sin. If you think about how many relationships have ended because someone didn't think about what it might cost to react either in physical anger or say hurtful words or behave in ways that are difficult for the other person to forgive. And to dig a bit deeper, it is important to consider how organizations made up of many people count their costs. What motivates a collective group, an organization, to value one thing over another? So many organizations have statements of value about who they are and what they believe and what is the most important premise. But what must we trade off in an attempt to make life better for the collective, for the whole? Being a lifelong Cubs fan and a Fairweather Bears fan, I've heard this topic discussed ad nauseum and married to a huge sports fan, I've heard this topic discussed ad nauseum on TV and radio talk shows, around the dining table, right? Because I also grew up with brothers. You know, the age-old Chicago professional sports team discussion that goes something like this. Why are our sports teams so bad? The coach needs to go. The owners, they're only interested in making money. They don't care if the team wins or not. The scouts are terrible. That was the worst trade ever. We needed a blank linebacker, pitcher, relief pitcher, whatever. Not a catcher or a quarterback. What are they thinking? Yes, collective groups understand that choices come with trade-offs. As much as each of us understands on a personal level that decisions come with a cost. Kurt is going to speak today about the way churches count the cost. Count the cost of maintaining relevance and long-term viability as an organization. The question of future viability is both a corporate one, pertaining to all churches everywhere, and one that we can ask as worshipers here at 3717 West Main. What actions are we willing to take? What can we trade that no longer serves us? What opportunities are we willing to embrace in order to move this church forward? We ask for your prayers and God's discernment in seeking those answers. Welcome to worship. We are so glad you're here.